Hello, Tech Pros, episode 221.
Taking that first step, the first scary step, and just doing it, not knowing what the second step is going to be, and not knowing if I'm going to make it into the first, having all these unknowns and just going ahead and doing it anyways, that's kind of helped me get as far as I've gone so far, and I think will help me get even more traction.
Welcome to the podcast where I chat with professionals who are getting the job done using technology 7 days a week. Each week, we start with Motivation Monday. Tuesday is about productivity, Wednesday, leadership, Thursday, technology, Friday, people and communication, Saturday, entrepreneurship, and Sunday, being unplugged. All right, let's get started. Hello, Tech Pros. This is Chad Bostic, and I'm excited to introduce our featured guest today, Gret Glyer. Happy Thursday, Gret.
Hey, Chad. Happy Thursday. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Are you ready to geek out and talk technology?
Absolutely. That sounds great.
Awesome. Gret Glyer is 26 and has lived in Malawi, Africa for 3 years and has crowdfunded $100,000 to build a girls' school there. Most recently launched a revolutionary new app that is literally going to change the world by the end of this year, and that app is called DonorSee, S-E-E. Gret, dude, for such a young man, such big ambitions, you're doing a lot of amazing things, and I just want to say congratulations. The work that you're doing here, building schools for girls and developing countries and developing applications that are changing the way that we're going to interact with, communicate between the donors and the caregivers and the people who actually need the help. That's an amazing vision, brother. I applaud you.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, it's nice to hear that.
Cool. So maybe tell us about how you got into the space. So you lived in Malawi, Africa for 3 years. What brought you there, and what did you learn from that experience?
Okay, so you mentioned I'm 26. When I was in 2012, I graduated from college, and I immediately started working at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and I was doing just the normal 9 to 5 desk job kind of thing. I was on the management track, doing really well, got promoted super quick. All of the higher ups were telling me Gret, you're going to be fast track, you're going to rise to the ranks super quick. And I was looking at the trajectory of my life, and I was thinking, man, this is so completely depressing. Because in 20 years, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to say, my contribution to life is I rented a lot of cars to people, or I oversaw the process of renting cars to people. And for some reason, that didn't sit well with me. So I looked at different opportunities to go overseas, and I found one where I could teach math in Malawi at this school called African Bible Colleges. And I took that opportunity and I went overseas and I started teaching math. And the longer I was over there, I was there for 3 years. Over time, I kind of transitioned away from teaching and transitioned more into doing what I really love, which is poverty alleviation work. And Malawi in 2014 was the poorest country on the entire planet, according to GDP per capita. So America might be is one of the most wealthiest, privileged places on earth, and Malawi is a completely different planet. It's almost it's unrecognizable compared to what people are used to over here. And so that's kind of how I got over to Malawi in the first place, was just that feeling of unsatisfaction with the trajectory of my life and looking for something else.
Dude, there's a lot of people who feel the same way as you, right? But don't take the action that you took, right? They think, hey, I finally got my career started. I'm launching it. I'm making some money. I'm doing really well. I'm doing this thing, but it's I'm going to be renting cars for the rest of my life. That's not very exciting. I would love to make a big impact in the world, and I would love to do something different. What do you think is the thing that actually prompted you to actually take action, quit your day job, and move to this third world country and start working in, first of all, just working in math, teaching, and then into poverty alleviation?
That's something I've thought about a lot. What is it? Because lots of people don't like their jobs or whatever. I don't know if I can't remember, in one of the Indiana Jones movies, at the very end, he comes to this big crevasse or whatever you call it, and there's a bridge, and he jumps and he takes this leap of faith, and wait, there's a bridge underneath him. You know that scene?
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
The Last Crusade. Okay, yes. So I've looked at that scene and I've thought, okay, this is kind of applicable. So the first time he takes that leap of faith, it's terrifying, right? But then he realizes, wait a second, oh, this is easy. All you have to do is take a step, and then you've got this path in front of you, and you figure it out from there. And so I think when I was younger, my parents had me travel a lot. Like we went to a bunch of different countries, and we just traveled a lot. And so I think traveling and going to an unfamiliar place is like a really scary thing to do the first time. But then once you do it once, you're like, oh, this isn't that bad. And so that's kind of what it was like for me. Like, I traveled a bunch as a kid, and I think it seems like way scarier to like go to a third world country than it actually is, right? The first time I got on a plane to go to Malawi, it was, I was pretty worried about, what my life was going to be like. Mm-hmm. But the second time I got on a plane to go to Malawi, I was, it was just normal life. That's just like how it is. So I think it was just my parents' emphasis on taking that first step. And that kind of helped me out. Well,
kudos to them for providing those opportunities to you early on, mm-hmm. and then absolutely big props to you for like, as an adult, like, hey, this is hashtag grown man decisions right here. Like I'm gonna literally drop everything into the U.S. and go to Malawi and start working over there. So. All right, so today is Tech Thursday on Hello Tech Pros. It's not just about the amazing things that you're doing across the world, but it's about how we're building technology and how the technology is really changing the world. And as you said at the beginning, or as we said, that DonorSee is going to literally change the world. So I want to get into that, what that app is, mm-hmm. and kind of how you got started on it. So as we do here on the show, it's always about the past, the present, and the future of technology. So first of all, let's talk about the past of this space. If we're talking about the donor space, right? So when I think mm-hmm. of back when I was a kid, there were telethons on television, right? And they would have mm-hmm. these celebrities get on TV, and they would sing these special songs, and they would sell their records. And you would either buy the records, or you would, mail in a money order or check to some organization, and then you were like helping the world in some way or another, right? But like as an adult, I'm looking back and I'm going like, what actually happened to that $20 that I sent in when I was 12 years old? Like I have no idea what happened to that money, where it went, and who it actually helped. So tell us a little bit about your work in this space and what you've seen as the history of the donor space and the technology that was available over the last few years.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you mentioned telethons and like not really seeing where your money's going and that kind of thing, because one thing that is often pointed out is the charity space, the nonprofit space is always like 10 or 20 or 30 years behind everything else. And I think it's just like a more, for whatever reason, there's like much less competition or there's much less transparency, and it's just led to like a lot of lag in the growth of that industry. So people just are used to giving their money and not seeing where it goes, and that's just how it is. And you don't really like giving your money, but it's kind of like doing your homework. You just are told that you have to do it, or you have to, if you want to be a good person, you got to do it. So you right. do it. You just do it. It's not fun. You just do it. So yeah, my last 3 years in Malawi, one of the things I found out that I really care about was, earlier I talked about how Malawi is like this different planet. It's like, it's impossible to imagine what like a life in Malawi is like, because it's like people who are living on $1 or $2 a day. It's imagine a world where you didn't have a cell phone. You can't just dial this magical 911 number and people will come and help you if you're right. It's just so completely different. And it's fascinating. And I love like telling people about this like completely different culture. And it's also, you think in America, you think not having money equals like not being happy or not being satisfied.
It's like I'm completely broke. All I've got is an old like '97 Toyota Corolla. It's got 80,000 miles on it. I'm gonna have to eat like McDonald's for the rest of the month because I can't go out to a nicer. First world problems.
That's poverty. That's what people think of when they think of poverty in the States, like not having cable or not having like fast internet. In Malawi, poverty is like, I haven't eaten for a week, or I don't have a house right now. And so one of the things I found out, one of the first like little projects I did when I was in Malawi was I fundraised $800 to build this lady named Rosina a house. And there's like a video of it online that you can find. And $800 to build someone a house, it's like, think of like how much you spent on your last iPad. That's like, it's the same cost. And people don't realize like, these small amounts of money to us make a huge impact in other places in the world. $800 a ton to us, or not that much to us, but over there in Malawi, like it's like a life-changing thing, or a life-saving thing in a lot of cases. So I fundraised to build this lady Rosina a house for $800, and I showed people like the bricks going on top of each other. We made a little video, put the roof going on, all that stuff. We moved her into the house, and people like loved it. They loved it so much that they said, all right, we want to build another house and another house. And they kept sending me more money to build more houses before I didn't tell them I was like trying to build more houses. I didn't tell them there's these other people who need houses. They just were like, kind of like, they got addicted to it because for the first time they could see that their small amount of money was making this huge impact in other places in the world. So yeah, that was kind of like that was the spark. That was like me realizing, oh my gosh, if people get to see where their money's going, they feel more involved and invested, and they feel like they're making an impact, and they want to continue doing that. They want to invest even more. So what I did was in response to this revelation, I created this app that makes it really easy for aid workers like me to fundraise for these people like Rosina. And to get the visual feedback, the videos and the pictures back to the donors who gave the money in the first place.
Okay, cool. So this is where you came up with the idea of DonorSee, and you're like, okay, we need to build some sort of communication mechanism that we can actually have people out in these remote locations, whether it's Malawi or wherever else in the world, and the aid workers are there on the ground, and they know Rosinas, right? They know the people that actually need the help, and it's not just some amorphous, I know the Red Cross will be helping somebody somewhere, but I don't know specifically who,
maybe.
Right?
Yeah.
Right, maybe not. Someday that those funds might be used in the future for good. But no, it's like Gret knows this lady named Rosina. Rosina needs a house, and to build a house in this country, she needs $800. So let's get $800. And now here's the videos of, the foundation going in and the walls going up and the roof going on. And here's the video of Rosina moving in, and having that connection to the actual person and knowing exactly where the money is going. That's the feedback loop that you built into DonorSee.
Yeah, and we, it's a website. You can go to DonorSee.com and use it there. But the reason that I call it an app, and the reason I encourage people to actually download the app itself, is because that will give you the most immediate feedback, right? So that aid worker takes a video of the house being built and then clicks send, and it goes to all of the donors, all 15 or 20 of the people who donated. It goes to them instantly on their phone. They get a notification. So it's like a very powerful, immediate feedback loop that's unprecedented, right? Usually, if you give to the Red Cross, you'll get a thank you email and maybe like a generic video at some point in the future. When you give on DonorSee, you get this immediate, like in the moment, real time feedback that's going on.
So what is the feedback that you've gotten here as you've like putting it in the hands of actual people who are doing the donating? First of all, let's look at it from the perspective of the donor, right? I'm giving $20 and I'm going to see these videos. What's the feedback that you've gotten from people?
So we just launched a month ago. We launched on September 26th, a little over a month ago, and it's been like a rapid adoption thing. It's one of those things where one of the things I love to see is someone will sign up and then they'll give to like a project, and then they'll get feedback on that project, and then they give to like 5 or 6 or 7 other projects. Wow. Just because they're like, oh my gosh, I want the feedback. I want to see like what people are doing. And it like a cool thing that there's a bunch of a handful of college students who use the app, and they don't have very much, but they seem to like to donate like $2 or $3, just because if you give any amount to a project, you get that feedback. So they feel like they're taking part in this like cool thing that's going on somewhere else in the world. So yeah, it's been one of those things where it's like it's an addictive app. I tell people like it's very, very fun and actually like addictive. Like you give once and you get that feedback, and then you're like, okay, I gotta do this again. And people start questioning. Like I've had people question like, why would I give money anywhere else? Like if I give to World Vision, one, it'll be if I like let's say I want to provide a lady in Malawi or wherever with a sewing machine. It's going to be twice as expensive because World Vision has to pay their accountants and CEOs and all that stuff. And I don't get to see where the money goes. Like, why would I give to them? Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's been I've been very, very grateful for how much appreciation has come from the donors who've started using the app.
Okay, so now let's talk about the caseworkers, right? The field workers on the ground who are actually sitting there with the people who need the help, and they're walking around the village, right? They see all the different problems that are going on. It's not just a house or a sewing machine. There's probably hundreds and thousands of opportunities that they see. Like, how do they use the app or use the website to really build the cases and prioritize, here's all the different opportunities that are out here, and these are all the different ways that we want to raise money to help this village?
Yeah, so like I said, just launched a month, so it's kind of like this new, we're all like exploring together. And yeah, I think like over time we're going to get really good at finding out the best way to do things. But one of the things that, like, one of the patterns I've seen already is like there was this girl in the Philippines who fundraised to provide a guitar for this family, so that the family is very musical. They wanted a guitar. It was like $60, and then all the donors got a video of them playing the guitar for the first time. It was like, a little fun gift. So that happened, and then all of a sudden she's like, wait a second. It was like this light bulb. In the past it was like you were powerless. You have all these people who are suffering around you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And all of a sudden you have this app in your hand, and you can make a real life tangible impact that you can see and feel right in front of you. It's like this brand new revelation. So she provides this guitar for the people, and all of a sudden she's like, okay, well now I want to build a house for someone. So now she's raising $1,000 to build a house for this family. And then after she does that, who knows like what the next thing is. But yeah, it's that type of thing. It's like this. I love seeing like that light bulb go off, where it's like, oh my gosh, I can actually do something about all this stuff I'm seeing right now. I don't have to like sit around and do nothing anymore. So yeah, that's been a cool thing too.
That's amazing. That's so inspiring. So let's nerd out. Let's take out a little bit, not to get into the nuts and bolts of how the app is built, but just kind of give us like a little bit of the architecture or how you went about building this application, building this website, since you're not necessarily like a developer who spends all day writing code and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
How did you go about putting this together?
I had the idea. Okay, so I had the idea back in January. I was talking to a friend, and I said, this might be like a cool thing to do someday. And then I started talking to a few different people in the tech space and saying like, I have this idea. And by March, it was like a really well-formed idea. And I used wireframes, balsamic wireframes to create like what the flow of the app. And I had a designer come in and like actually make the screens for the app. And then what I did was I used my own personal money to have this developer in Poland just like build a prototype version of the app. And it cost about $7,000. And for me, like, aid worker living in the poorest country in the world, $7,000 is like my life savings. So I built like this prototype, and it was really broken and glitchy, and it barely worked. And but what I did was I was able to use that prototype and show investors who were interested in investing in the deal and like making some equity. I showed them this prototype, and I showed like, look, people are using this broken thing that barely works. I'd really like to fundraise like I'd really like to raise some real capital so I can build this thing correctly. So I was able to get $150,000 in venture capital money for a certain amount of equity, and I then used that to hire a team of like 5 developers. So there were 2 people who lived in Raleigh, North Carolina, who built the back end, the server side stuff. I believe they used Ruby on Rails. And then there was we hired an iOS developer, an Android developer, and a web developer. And they were from different parts of the world, and they were just working on the front end stuff. And so yeah, we launched a little over a month ago, and now they're all working like part time for me while they just like make little fixes to glitches and bugs and little feature improvements and stuff like that.
That's amazing. So you are the product designer, right? And you came up with this vision. You drew out the diagrams of, hey, I want this screen to be like the main menu screen, the login screen, like all the activities that I see here on my feed, and just kind of design them out of, hey, this is what I want it to look like. You went and found a developer, paid him $7,000, which was your life savings, and then
yeah, it was
busted, broken, kind of like. It worked. It was an MVP, what we call a minimum viable product, but it wasn't perfect. But you got enough of an app out there that you were actually like, hey, people are using this. People are are giving donations, and they're seeing the cause, and they're seeing the pictures and the videos, and it works. And now you can take that MVP and you can expand on it because other people are giving and saying, hey, I want to be part of this action. I want to invest in this idea. And I got some VC money that then developed that into a well-rounded application that we're using today. And the timeline that you just gave me, at first, when you're like, oh yeah, I had this idea back in early, I was like, wait, did he just say like 3 years ago when he started in Malawi? No, you're talking about this year, like literally just a few months ago when the idea came about. And then 2 months later, you had a well-formed idea. And then a few weeks later, you have an app. And now we have a fully featured app that's out on the App Store and running. That's an amazing timeline. That's really, really fast.
Yeah, thanks for that. It was one of those things where I've been working on, you mentioned the $100,000 girls' school, and I told you about the houses and just a bunch of different stuff I've been working on. When I came up with the idea for the app, it was like this culmination of all of my experiences in life so far and all of the things I was passionate about. And I also saw this, like, the potential scale it could be. Like, this could be in the hands of people, like, in every country in the world, and this could change millions of lives. And once I realized like the potential impact it could make, then it was like, okay, I have to drop everything else and like focus on this one thing. Like, fail or not fail, like I'm gonna put all of my energy into making this thing a success because this really could like change the entire planet. And that's why it's been happening fast. And actually, it doesn't feel very fast. I know it seems fast, but like every week I'm like, oh man, I wish I was like 10 steps ahead. So.
Yeah, that's the entrepreneur in you that wanted to be bigger, faster. But coming from the technology space, right, where we can spend. I've been on projects that make me want to pull my hair out. Yeah, been on enterprise. Right, you work for a big enterprise company that had thousands of employees and lots of different things. The code, the software, the apps behind those applications can literally take 2 or 3 years to do the planning process of what is the thing that we're trying to build. And then you get into the build phase and you can build it and scrap it and build it and scrap it 15 different times because you've got different VCs, different executives, different product managers, different project managers, different developers that all kind of have different ideas on what we're going to do. But in your case, you were the visionary that had, okay, here's the clear, exact vision that we need. Here's the screens that I want. Now build it for me. Now I can show it. I can use it and iterate on that. So that it may seem slow from your perspective, but trust me, dude, that's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, that's encouraging to hear. Yeah, I always, it's hard for me to know because I am brand new to the like technology space, so it's kind of hard for me to know like how I'm doing. But I appreciate that's nice to hear.
You're doing well. You're doing very well.
Thank you.
Tell you what, Gret, in just a moment, we will, let's talk about the future of this technology, meaning the future of DonorSee, which is just like version 1 of the app is just now out now. So what is version 2 and 3 and on down the roadmap that you see, as well as just the future of this space, the future of the donor space. But first, we'll take a quick break and thank our sponsors. This episode of Hello Tech Pros is sponsored by Minio Cloud Storage. Minio is a cloud object storage server for developers and DevOps written in Go. The Go programming language is the emerging language of choice for modern cloud infrastructure projects, and it allows Minio to be highly concurrent and lightweight. Minio is Amazon S3 compatible, built with microstorage architecture in mind, but at its heart, Minio is simple, scalable, and supported by a passionate developer and user community. In episode 89 of Hello Tech Pros, I talked with A.B. Periasamy, one of the founders of Minio, about the importance of community support and recruiting software developers who are as passionate about their product's code as artists are of their art. Check out that episode at hellotechpros.com/89 and check out Minio Cloud Storage at minio.io. That's minio.io. Are you new to podcasting? Are you looking for a fast, high-quality, yet budget-friendly podcast production team? Let TransSource Media take care of you. With a team of professional audio and video editors, writers, and graphic artists, they can help you build your podcast from planning, post-production, and platform submission. Using only cutting-edge software and studio equipment, they're here to make each and every show sound at its best. To get a free quote, please visit www.transsourcemedia.com or send them an email at marketing@transsourcemedia.com or call them at 209
888-505-5693. TransSource Media, transforming businesses through the power of multimedia.
Okay, we're back with Gret Glyer. Gret is an amazing individual who moved to Malawi because he hated corporate work and he wanted to do something bigger with his life. Once he got to Malawi in Africa, which was the number worst country in the world for economic development, and saw that there was just so much opportunity to help people out, where $1 a day could literally, like, that means life and death to individuals that live there. And so after tutoring for a while, he started getting into I just lost the terminology, but you got into helping people, right? Helping people
poverty alleviation.
Yeah, poverty alleviation. Exactly. Thank you. So helping people live a better lifestyle, like have an actual house to live in, or have tools that they need to do their job, so that they can self-fund and so forth. And so after coming back to the U.S., you're like, you know what? I have this idea for this app, and it's called DonorSee. We're going to build it. I'm going to MVP it, minimal viable product. I'm going to get it out there. It works. So now we're at version 1. So that's where we were when we left on the break. Was you're at version 1 of DonorSee. It's out there in the wild. I just downloaded it. I've got it on my phone. I'm looking at all the stories there. It's awesome. I mean, it looks really, really slick for a V1 app. It looks really nice.
Yeah.
What's next? Yeah, you're welcome. What is next? What's coming up for you and the roadmap on this application?
Right now, we're doing a lot of data collection. I don't want to get like too far ahead of myself before we like see how people use it. So, for example, one of the things that you'll see is most of the needs on there are like a few $1,000s, like, or at least several $100s. And the reason for that is because anytime someone posts a need that's like under $200 or under $100, it goes like almost instantly. Like, people, for whatever reason, really love to give to these needs that are very small, because that's like where they feel like they're making the most impact. It's just like a really gratifying experience to, pay $60, someone gets a guitar, you get to see that whole process. Or we have a guy on the app who's really popular named Fletcher, who what he does is he raises about $180 at a time to provide hearing aids for babies or kids who need a bone conductor hearing aid so that they can hear for the first time. So he raises $180 and it comes in, in a few hours. And then like a few days later, or maybe a week later, all of the donors get a video of that kid or that baby hearing for the first time. And it's like this really cool thing that you can like see on your phone. So one of the things that we're working on is providing like a really gratifying experience to donors, but also we're looking for expanding into, like, I think right now we're in about 12 different countries, and I want to be in every single country in the world. I want DonorSee used for all sorts of different stuff. There's all sorts of like really, there's homeless people in Malawi, homeless widows in Malawi who don't have houses, but there's also things like, and I'm not even sure what it looks like, but there's things like sex trafficking in Thailand, and I would love for DonorSee to be used to fight that somehow. And I don't even know what these things look like, but I'm just hoping that or I should rather say I'm expecting that the creativity of these aid workers who are attached to the problems, just like I was in Malawi and I saw that a girls' school was needed, so I built that. I'm hoping that the aid workers in these different places, like, they are able to use the app to just help people directly and provide that feedback and create this this environment of giving. So that's like the next few years. And then if you're asking me like what do I see happening in a little bit beyond that, I think one of the spaces that I find really interesting is VR. And so like right now, getting a video of a kid hearing for the first time is like a pretty powerful experience. But it'd be even cooler if it was in VR, or maybe even like maybe even having like feeling like an in-person interaction where you're talking to the person that you're able to help on the other end of the world, using like they have a headset on, you've got a headset on. I think that'd be like an interesting thing as well.
Yeah, that would be cool. I've watched recently a lot of 360 videos on YouTube where you have these fisheye cameras, these 360-degree cameras, and you can walk around, like hold a selfie stick that literally 360 degrees all the way around you shoots the video, and so the users can go into YouTube and kind of pan and scan. It would be very interesting to kind of do a walkthrough of the village, walkthrough of the house, walkthrough of the wherever this aid is taking place, the hospital or whatever, and not just see a still or see what the the cameraman's perspective was, but just like you're literally walking around in there and looking up and down and left and right, and wow, these are the conditions. There's nothing hidden. This isn't like a green screen room where you're faking out all of the dirty secrets right here in front of me, but really behind you is like it's Manhattan, and right.
No,
so,
that's something I actually don't think we're that far away from it. It's just like technology is being adopted so rapidly in these other countries. I've actually predicted that I think the entire world will have access to internet before it has access to clean water. That's my prediction.
Amazing. What about in our own backyard, right? So when we think of, there's a lot of people who I could imagine would want to use this technology to fund their own stuff, right? So crowdfunding, like on GoFundMe and stuff like that. Do you see your application being used like in America, in Canada, in the UK, in Germany, right? For instance, to fund local things in these countries that do have money, or are you specifically targeting like impoverished nations that don't have a lot of infrastructure?
I think. First of all, yes, I expect it to be used in every country, and I think it'll just look different in a first world country. So, one of the people who have reached out to me who seem like really interested in using it in America is this person who runs a Facebook group that kind of brings cancer patients together, and a lot of times these cancer patients are in need of covering their medical bills, and so I could see it being used by a cancer patient who they need help covering their medical bills, but they show, they make little videos thanking the donors for, thank you for getting me to this next radiation treatment or whatever it is. I don't quite know like how everyone's going to use it, but it's just all it is. It's a platform. It's a way for you to show donors how their money is being spent. So I think England, UK, Canada, America, all those places.
Awesome. Great stuff. So, Gret, before we go, do you have any final words of wisdom to share for our audience, share with our audience, and then the best way that we can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye? Yeah,
I guess if I were, you mentioned several times I've been able to move very fast, and I think a big part of that has been my interest in just taking that first step, the first like scary step, and just doing it, not knowing what the second step is going to be, and not knowing if I'm going to make it into the first, having like all these unknowns and just going ahead and doing it anyways. That's kind of helped me get as far as I've gone so far, and I think will help me get even more traction. And so that would be like my words of wisdom. And of course, I would love it if everyone went and downloaded the app, and you can reach out to me and send me feedback, and everyone should go and give at least $5 or something, or just $1. Give $1 to something just so you can experience that feedback loop. I think that'd be like a very cool experience for almost anyone to see what is new in the world. And then if someone wants to reach out to me, at Gret Glyer on Twitter, and you can also follow me on DonorSee, DonorSee.com, and that's just find my profile and click the heart, and then you're following me. So yeah.
Awesome, Gret. Thank you so much for joining me on Hello Tech Pros today. I love the fact that on a Tech Thursday, when we normally talk about the nuts and bolts and the data and the algorithms and all that kind of stuff, you know what? The point behind all of those algorithms, the point behind all that user experience, the point behind all of that, those communication tools to move data back and forth across the planet is to really help the people across the planet, right? Is to really make a change in the world, and not just like, oh, well, Facebook helps me talk to my grandparents in the other state, and that's amazing. It's changed the world. No, you're actually literally changing the world and helping people build homes using this technology, and that's amazing. So thank you so much for sharing that with me today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Tech Pros, man, if you have a vision, if you have a mission, if you have a goal of something that you want to achieve in life, some big, huge thing that you want to put out there, it takes action. I know that there's a lot of technical professionals who have great ideas, whether it be in the donor space or whether it be on the enterprise space or wherever it is. You have great ideas that you want to do, but you're not doing it because you're worried about all the problems. You're worried about, oh, I can't do it because I don't have any VC money. I can't get it done because I have kids. I can't get it done because, my internet connection at home sucks, or whatever whatever excuse is that you're feeding yourself. You have to, if it's in you, if it's in your heart, you're going to have to get over those mindset barriers that are holding you back from achieving the objectives you want to achieve in your life, in your business, in your career. And so you're just going to have to, follow Gret's advice here and take that first step, take that leap of faith, just like Indiana Jones, just like Gret Glyer, and see where that path will lead you. You've been listening to Gret Glyer, and I'm Chad Bostic. And until next time, take care. The show notes page for this episode can be found at hellotechpros.com/221. Do you use Slack for team communication? Join the Hello Tech Pros Slack channel at hellotechpros.com/Slack. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review, subscribe to this channel, and check back tomorrow. This has been Technology Thursday, but tomorrow my featured guest and I discuss people and communication. On Saturday, we talk entrepreneurship, Sunday, being unplugged, Monday, motivation, Tuesday, productivity, Wednesday, leadership, and back again on Thursday to discuss technology once again. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.